Downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. We're happy to be hanging out with you for the next 2 hours. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Sharif Ishak is in Charlotte. He's going to be with us in 15 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes before his general spot, but he's got to fly back to New Orleans. So we'll chat with Sharif in 15 minutes. Glenn West of Go247 with us at 1:30 talking Tigers. I've got some thoughts on college football as a whole that I'll get to a little bit later. As we kind of ease into a huge week in college football. Brian Kelly, of course, met with the media earlier this week. That'll be an hour or two. We'll finish off this hour with Lane Kiffin, who was playing some Twitter games yesterday, and I appreciated him. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on in this hour. But we'll start with the black and gold, who get a win last night on Monday Night Football in Charlotte. The Saints win it 20-17. A little garbage touchdown there from the Panthers late to make it a little closer than it probably was with 4 minutes to go. But in any event, the Saints do win the game. I want to start with the biggest takeaway from that game, unequivocally. And it's quick. The Saints are 2-0. That's the biggest takeaway in that league, in division. Don't care what it looks like. Just put one in the win column. And they did that. And they've done that for 2 weeks in a row. That's the biggest takeaway. Now, we can get into some nuances. I want to be very upfront, though, that overwhelmingly, as a Saints fan, you should be thrilled that the Saints have come out of the gate 2-0. It's a nice feeling. They haven't done it in a handful of years. And here they sit 2-0. And look, the defense has been phenomenal. They've only allowed one garbage touchdown in 2 games. Now, you've dealt with 2 bad quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill's on the wrong side of his career. Bryce Young just started, and both guys were poor in their games. Tannehill's decision-making was atrocious, 3 awful interceptions. Bryce Young yesterday, indecisive, inaccurate when there were some opportunities. But hey, if you're the Saints, I'm not going to sit here and knock the Saints defense because 2 lower-end quarterbacks struggled. Guess what? That's what 80% of the schedule is this year. Jordan Love's coming up. Are you terrified of him? I wouldn't be. Baker Mayfield played well on Sunday. Do I think he's great? Nope. Mac Jones, terrified? I don't think so. C.J. Stroud? Got Anthony Richardson coming up, if he's healthy. Justin Fields looks awful. You'll see him in a few weeks. That's what the schedule looks like, and we've known that since May. So the Saints defense looks very, very good. And I could tell you about all the things I like about the defense. Brian Brzee getting back there in what looked like a forced turnover. Cam Jordan still playing at a high level. The DBs are playing great football at this point. You've really got a nice trio with Lattimore and Adebo and Alontae Taylor. They look like they're playing great football. You know what DeMario Davis is. Pete Warner's healthy. The defense looks good. The defense was good last year, late in the season. But your offense stunk. And the hope was you go out and spend $100 million on a quarterback. The guy that you're planning on playing stays healthy, which didn't happen last year. You get your left tackle that you drafted in the first round a year and a half ago in healthy. And it looks a little bit better than it did last year. And through 2 weeks, it just hasn't. Where's my concern on the Saints offense right now? As I look up, and through 2 weeks, they've been inconsistent to be kind. And I debated that this morning. I've gone back and kind of looked at the game against Tennessee, certainly watched every play last night. I think my concern level is a 6. It's over 5. It is a 6. It's not an 8. It's not a 9. It's not a 10. But it is a 6. Through 2 games right now, your biggest issue is that you're 28th in the league in red zone touchdown percentage. You are moving the football. You're 10th in the league in yards, which is good. You're 8th in the league in plays per drive, which means you are sustaining drives and not going 3 and out. But you're not hitting the big plays when they're available outside of 2 massively clutch plays to Shaheed in 2 weeks and then the highlight reel play by Olave. And you're not punching it in the red zone. Plus, the run game's iffy. 18th in the league in rush yards, 24th in the league in yards per rush, and that's with Taysom Hill giving you a numbers advantage. You're 19th in the league in yards per play, 25th in points. I'm not going to belabor that. That's all I'll do on league standings. It's 2 weeks. It's hard to draw sweeping conclusions. But if you're a Saints fan and you've watched the Saints play for 2 weeks, there are some concerns on the offensive line. Trevor Penning is having glaring issues multiple times per game. The bull rush is getting to him. He's getting beat to the outside. He's having significant issues, and he's basically a rookie. It's not totally unforeseen that Trevor Penning would struggle a little bit, but he is. Cesar Ruiz, he may have played 60 great snaps last night, but he had a couple that were just so obviously mistakes right there at the guard spot that make you go, good grief. How much they just pay that guy? How many years they just extend that deal? Ramczak's playing good, not great. You got Pete on the bench. They're not doing a good job up front. And that was my one key to this game yesterday. If the Saints can block the Panthers, they'll be fine. J.C. Horn's out. If Carr's upright, they'll be fine if they can just block. And really, they struggled to do that. Derek Carr was under pressure. When he was under pressure, he made two really poor decisions. One resulted in an awful interception. But I think the root of all this is not Carr. It's not Kamara's suspension. It's not the Williams injury. The root of all this is the offensive line. They've got to get better. That Titans front is tough. They led the NFL in run defense last year. The Panthers have a couple of really strong pass rushers. Derek Brown's a handful. But the offensive line was not good last night, and that's a big problem. So how does it get better? Well, there are two main ways that I think the offense can improve with the help of the offensive line. One is obviously getting healthier and available at running back. If Jamal Williams can come back and Kamara comes in week 4, that should make you a little more explosive. You help the offensive line with the screen game and the check down game to Kamara, who can do that as well as anybody in the league. And then the other thing is Derek Carr is still not in sync with Olave, Thomas, and Shaheed the way I think he will be late October. We saw a couple times, and I thought Dan Orlovsky did a really good job of kind of breaking some things down, where Michael Thomas, who's really a short route runner at this point, kind of got to the inside, positioned his body, broke free, and the ball sailed over his shoulder because he wasn't looking for it. That's one that I think Breeze and Thomas had a better body clock symbiosis or whatever you want to call it. Like, they just were on the same page better than Carr and Thomas are. And Olave's still young, even though he does do a great job. There's reason to think that Derek Carr will improve under Carmichael and with these really good wide receivers. And there's reason to believe that Kamara coming back helps. But I fear that we're going to continue to go back to the offensive line because make no mistake, the Saints defense is exceptional. They're going to need to score more than 20 to win some games. There are going to be quarterbacks that show up that do have some more success than Tannehill and Bryce Young have had, and the Saints are going to have to keep up, and they should be able to. They've got to block, and they got to get on the same page. Again, my concern, somewhere around a 6, because it's there with the offensive line. It was the question. That's the fear. Like, when you have a question preseason, and then it manifests itself, that hurts. It was like LSU with the DBs in the opener. Like, oh, man, we're kind of right about that. And then when you have concern with the Saints offensive line, and you see what you did last night where they're not really able to run the ball outside of Taysom Hill and Carr's under pressure, you're like, this is tough. But they did determine late in the game, in the fourth quarter, when they got in the red zone where they had struggles, we're not going to drop back and try to pass and pass protect. We're just going to go forward. And Tony Jones got moving forward, and the offensive line got moving forward. We know Trevor Penning is a better run blocker than he is pass blocker at this point. And they just got physical, and they made it work, and they pounded into the end zone. And that should feel good because we know Jamal Williams can do that. He's got to get back, and you feel like you can get Kamara back as well to help with that. So if you get the run game going, you can take some pressure off the offensive line in the pass blocking situations, and things can get better. But again, the takeaway from this game is that the Saints won. And you're 2-0. And I'm not even as concerned with keeping up with the division, because I don't trust the Bucs to continue this. I don't think the Falcons are great. And we've clearly seen that the Panthers are not a great team. So while yesterday I was talking about the Bengals saying, man, you're 2 behind the Ravens, that's a big deal. Well, I trust the Ravens. I don't trust the Bucs. I don't trust the Falcons. So it's less about keeping up with the division, more like just stockpile wins. Saints got one here. Short week for the black and gold. They fly back last night. Got to fly up to Lambeau on Saturday. So it's a short week of practice, but you do so 2-0, and that's got to feel good for the black and gold. Sharif Ishak was up there in Charlotte. He was with with Lance Moore, who we had on yesterday. So we'll catch up with Sharif a little earlier than his normal spot, but he'll be with us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana, found in a backyard shed right here in the capital city. Marucci started handcrafting some bats, kind of called up. All of a sudden, got some superstars in Major League Baseball that are using Marucci bats. They are top quality. They are game-changing. But it's not just the fact that they create a bat that's being used at the highest level of baseball. It's more than that. The Baseball Performance Lab, which is one of their initiatives, has expanded Marucci's workforce by 137%. It's a tourism boon that Marucci brings us when they bring the Marucci World Series to Baton Rouge each and every July that draws thousands of youth athletes and families and coaches. Great stuff that Marucci does for our state, and that's why they're a champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana, maybe a company like Marucci, maybe a nonprofit, maybe a person, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana so that we can tell their story. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly...
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We're recapping Saints-Panthers on Monday Night Football. Sean Salisbury joins us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So you're expecting Sharif Ishak here, as you should, because literally 3.5 minutes ago I told you Sharif Ishak would be joining. However, Sharif is creating issues. He's traveling. He's all over the place. He's going through TSA. He tried to move up from 2:30 to 1:15. Well, then he wasn't ready at 1:15, so now we moved him back to 1:30. Well, who's supposed to be at 1:30? Glenn West supposed to be at 1:30, so Glenn West has moved up to 1:15. They say the best ability is availability. Glenn West is available. He's here with us now. Of course, a senior writer at Go247. Glenn, thanks for being available. How are you?
I'm always available for you, Hunt. I'm just standing over a hard-boiled egg right now, trying to fix some lunch. But I appreciate you reaching out.
Well, look, I appreciate you for putting the egg on hold here and giving us a little time to chat. Do you think LSU starts Garrett Nussmeier against Arkansas this week?
Oh, no, I don't think so. There's something I don't know about?
No, it's just the controversy. They lose to Florida State. Got to switch the quarterback, obviously. I feel like that's probably been put to bed here, right?
Gotcha. No, I think this is very much a Jaden Daniels kind of starting game. I think when you set the completion percentage record for a game with the kinds of throws he was making on Saturday, you deserve another week as a starter.
I would agree. Do we expect to see more of that from Jaden Daniels, or was that just one of those flamethrowers like we saw against Florida, and we may see a little regression on Saturday?
You would hope so. You would hope it's the start of something new, but I do think you have to be a little bit practical, and just kind of what you've seen from Jaden over the last couple of years is a guy who's not going to historically take a whole bunch of chances in a game. I mean, I think you can certainly go out on a limb and say that he and Malik Neighbors were on a special kind of connection there on Saturday, and they delivered, I think, pretty historic performances each in their own right. But to expect that kind of that kind of effort, I think, week in and week out is probably a little unrealistic. And so I think you revert some to the mean, but that also doesn't mean that I don't think that they found something here where they can continue to explore those options downfield. And if they can kind of keep that rapport going with those two, if he can continue to develop the early season chemistry that he's had with Brian Thomas Jr., I like where the passing game is at overall. I think that was a good step forward. You're gonna revert back to the mean at some point in this game, but I do think that LSU has found a little bit more of an answer after that Mississippi State game.
How about the running game? Where does that stand at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of going in, the run game was going to be one of the biggest things that I was going to be looking out for in terms of could Logan Diggs establish himself as that feature back, and I think he's absolutely the guy that you look to in clutch situations and in early down work. I mean, I think you can certainly work him in third down as well, but he's just a do-it-all back for you, and I really like what he has done the last couple of weeks. As the offense looks just more explosive when he's out there. I think he's just done a really nice job of coming in and taking over that room a little bit. You certainly will continue to work in Josh Williams, and I would personally like to see a little bit more of Caleb Jackson. It just seems like every time he touches the ball, he's making something positive happen. But if you listen to Brian Kelly yesterday, you realize that there's only going to be so much of a workload that he can handle because of some of his limitations right now in pass protection and just kind of the little nuances of playing the position on an every down basis. But I do like what you have with really Jackson and certainly Williams and Diggs kind of leading the way.
If you got 100% to assign here, how much of the Saturday effort with LSU's defense and Mississippi State's offense was LSU's defense playing great, and how much it was Mississippi State offense being a mess?
I would say probably 70-30 LSU's defense. I mean, look, their pressure was just relentless, especially in that first half. I mean, there were a number of different guys, whether it was Mekhi Wingo, Savion Jones, even the freshman Deshaun Womack got in there and had some really nice moments. Certainly Whit Weeks and kind of the effort that he gave as a true freshman can't be overlooked in that environment as well. I really liked what LSU's defense was able to do. I think that they found some answers there on the front seven. I think that those guys really dominated the line of scrimmage throughout the entire first half and really the entire game. And when you do that and you kind of assert your dominance early, it's easy for offenses to kind of get down on themselves a little bit. And I think that's exactly what you saw with Mississippi State.
You're correct 100% that the pressure was really exciting on Saturday, and that's something that we didn't necessarily see much against Florida State. But do you think they covered better too?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the pressure that you get up front, it relates to back as well. I mean, I think that the defensive backs certainly fed off of some of the pressure situations that LSU was getting after Mississippi State in that first half, and I think the defensive backs played pretty well. I mean, they weren't really challenged a whole lot downfield, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Will Rogers was just having to get the ball out quick, and he certainly wasn't on his A game. I think that you don't need a mathematician to tell you that, but I thought the defensive backs held up pretty well, and I think they gave up 100 yards total for the game. I mean, that'll work 10 times out of 10 in this day and age in college football. So really just an A effort, I think, all around the defense. But you'll continue to see guys like Zy Alexander and Deuce Chestnut and certainly Sage Ryan kind of in the nickel right now with what's going on with Greg Brooks. So Denver Harris, of course, will be the other corner as well. So I like what they found. I think they found a little bit of more cohesion there with this last performance, and now you just got to build on it going forward.
Chatting with Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7 for all your recruiting and team coverage needs. Do you feel differently about this team today than you did when we had this conversation last Tuesday?
I do, to an extent. I mean, I think that was a really dominant performance, and anytime you go on the road in the SEC and you dominate an opponent like that, you don't want to get too caught up in it, but I do think that there were some real positive signs made here on both sides of the ball. I personally want to see this translate over to the next couple weeks. I think this next 3-week stretch in particular is perhaps the most important of your entire schedule. I know people want to look at Bama and look ahead to the future here, but home against Arkansas, at Ole Miss, at Missouri, that's going to be a real crucial 3-game stretch here, I think, in deciding kind of the pecking order of the SEC West, which is wide open. And so I do think that LSU has made, I think if you had to bet right now, they would probably be the betting favorites to win the West, just with some of the other big question marks that are out there around the conference. But, I do like where LSU's positioned, and I think that if they can continue to build on this performance from last week, that they're going to like where they're sitting once that Alabama game comes in November.
Do you think LSU has the best offense in the SEC?
I do. I mean, I think right now, you can't really say that they don't. I mean, obviously you can point to one bad half of football against Florida State and make your judgments off of that. But, I would like to think that this is more of the team that you're going to see going forward. And the Mississippi State performance is going to be a little bit closer to what you can expect from this offense on a week-to-week basis. And if that's the kind of performance and effort you're going to be getting, there's not a whole lot of defenses I don't think they can stop LSU or slow them down. So, I absolutely think that they're going to be right up there with the best of them. Ole Miss is certainly, I think, in that conversation right now as well. But I just think there's a lot of question marks right now around the SEC and around some of the quarterbacks that are manning some of the bigger programs right now. So I think LSU is about as stable position as you can ask for from an offensive perspective, and that's going to help them out here going forward.
Last year in Fayetteville, it was freezing cold. KJ Jefferson didn't play. Jaden Daniels was sick, and Harold Perkins took over, and it was a low-scoring, really tight game. How do you expect Saturday night to look in Death Valley? There are a lot of variables that have changed there.
Yeah, I think that LSU should be expected to win this game pretty handily. I mean, there's no doubt that Arkansas has struggled the last couple weeks. I think LSU started to find its stride a little bit. I think where LSU is really going to have to win this game, and it's cliche, but it's going to be at the line of scrimmage. I think Arkansas's O-line has really struggled to kind of keep KJ Jefferson upright here these first couple weeks. LSU's front seven is going to have to play a really spectacular game, I think, to make sure that that KJ can't get going and that the offense can't find some success. So I think if that happens, it bleeds into what kind of happened last week against Mississippi State. If the front seven can get some pressure, I think that makes life easier on the secondary, and that certainly helps LSU's defense from that perspective. And then offensively, I would expect a very similar kind of effort. I think that Jaden Daniels is playing extremely well right now. I think he found something with Logan Diggs. Would like to see a little bit more consistency out of the offensive line. I think that's probably been maybe the one position group, I'm not sure if you feel this way, that's been maybe a little underwhelming to start the season in terms of what the preseason expectations were for this group. So I'd like to see those guys really find a niche and get back on track. And if LSU does that, I think you're going to like the results on Saturday.
I like to ask the beat reporters this because I'm not there, but in terms of the interviews that you have done and the players that you've talked to after Florida State, pre-Grambling, post-Grambling, after Mississippi State, I don't know if you've done any this week or not, are they kind of leaning on last year where they started with a gut punch and then got better as time went on? Or is the confidence there? What's the general vibe around the players that you've spoken to over the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's been very even-keeled. They didn't get super down on themselves after the Florida State loss. They haven't gotten themselves super hyped after the Grambling win, of course. I mean, we haven't talked to them since Saturday's game. We talked with Jaden a little bit. We talked with Malik a little bit, and Major Burns is one of the highlight kind of interviews, man. I wish we could get him every week. He's fun to talk to. But those guys, I mean, they've kind of kept things even keel. I mean, they haven't gotten too high on wins. They haven't gotten too low with their loss to Florida State. I'll be eager to see who we get today. We got player interviews later this afternoon, and just kind of how they're approaching this first SEC home game. But I think it's been a very business-like approach the last couple of weeks. That's what Brian Kelly has really kind of preached to us as the media, and it's been one of the messages he's talked to the team about. Just approach every week like a business trip, and and very professionally, and be those kind of have that competitive edge they were looking for early in the season. And I think you've seen it for 2 weeks, and I think you need to see it a little bit more consistently here before you truly lean into it and believe in it.
Thanks, Glenn. We'll talk next week.
All right, Hunt. Talk soon.
He is Glenn West, Go 24/7 senior writer. All your recruiting coverage, your team coverage as well. Thanks to Glenn for being a little flexible and moving around. We usually talk to him at 1:30. We usually talk to Sharif at 2:30. Instead, we're going to shuffle things around. We're going to talk to Sharif coming up right now as he joins us from Charlotte. He was there at Bank of America Stadium last night. Saints are 2-0. We're talking about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
We're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
On Wednesday's OTB. Continue to look forward to the weekend of football that will be all the big games, plus an hour of flestering with Matt Flynn. Off the bench, 7:10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Head back out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, up in Charlotte, making some time for us from, I believe, the airport. Sharif, how was your stay in Charlotte?
Kind of a complicated one. I mean, yesterday we're, not even a half a mile from the stadium. It took 2 hours and 5 minutes to get to the parking spot.
Okay.
I get stuck in the elevator today in the hotel for 20 minutes as I was leaving. And then, in the TSA line for like 45 minutes. I didn't want you to call me while the phone was rolling through the TSA machine. So here we are.
Could get you arrested. You can stay a little longer. You got issues with the cell phone. What'd you do in the elevator for 20 minutes? Just sit there and look at your phone? Did you get reception?
Yeah, I got reception. I was just looking on Twitter. I called the front desk and I'm like, hey, I'm stuck in your elevator. Can you get someone to get me out, please? I got to go to the airport.
The Saints won, so that's good.
Yeah, I think I took all the negatives and the Saints had the positives. But, it was a good game for the defense. Look, I'm looking at it. It's essentially the same thing that happened last week that happened this week. The offense was just hideous, gross, nasty in the first half, and in the second half they made the big plays. The defense was good for 4 quarters, and pretty much the same thing we saw against the Tennessee Titans.
So what's the bigger story, that the offense is gross most of the time or that the defense is awesome?
Well, you would hope that the offense would be a little bit better than that. I mean, we knew the defense was going to be pretty good. I think the bigger story is just the offense. The defense isn't going to be able to continue to carry the entire team this way for the entire season. So Derek Carr has to get it together. This one was on Derek Carr, and he took the accountability. That's one of the good things with him. Able to do that whenever he has a bad game. Timing, just missing on throws, underthrowing, overthrowing, Olave or Michael Thomas. It just wasn't that pretty in the first half for Derek Carr. He's just, I don't know, the connection isn't there. And I understand they didn't really play much together in the preseason, and that's kind of the way it looks like. And it's just been 2 games in. He was better last week, obviously, than he was this week, but just missing on quite a few throws in the first half. Second half, got a little bit better, man. The big plays with Olave and Shaheed, and that set up a couple touchdowns. But, I think they have to find a way where it's a little bit more fluid and there's more rhythm to the offense throughout the entire game, not just in the second half.
There are so many teams in the NFL that are struggling offensively through 2 weeks, and I wonder if coaches won't rethink how much their starters play in the preseason. I realize the risk reward stinks because somebody can get hurt, and that's the last thing that you want. But it's just it's not attractive football through 2 weeks. Do you think that some of the starters should play a little bit more in preseason games?
Yeah, I think you're going to see that down the line. It may not be that final game, but I think you might see them get in 2 more series, another series in the first or second game, just to make sure that you got the chemistry and the team is gelling offensively. And I understand some of the teams on the other side maybe not going as hard as possible because, like you said, risk reward, you don't want to get hurt. But I still think that you got to give them more time on the field in live action. I mean, the joint practices are good; they're beneficial, but it's not live action in a stadium, lights, where they're going 100 miles an hour. At least you think they are. So I think they rethink that moving forward.
Where's your concern with this Saints offensive line?
It's just like it's the first half, second half. They blocked well in the run game. I told you one of the keys to winning would be in the run game, and Taysom Hill, I think by far was the player of the game offensively. Without Taysom Hill, they don't win that game. And they finally went Taysom time, and they found a way to use him. But they were running between the tackles really well. I just didn't like the runs outside. When they try to run to the edge in the NFL, it's really hard to do that. With Jamal Williams, who has a hamstring injury, we'll see how long he's out, and Tony Jones, who first 2 touchdowns of his career. Thanks, Sean Payton, for letting him off your practice squad. But I thought they blocked well in the run game. Pass game, and they were just up and down again. It was up and down. I thought Penning played a little bit better than he did last week, but the rest of the offensive line and pass protection was, it was suspect at times. And I think some of it was on Carr and some of it was on the offensive line. That's just, once again, more time on task, playing more, and maybe they'll get, adjusted by game 3 or 4.
How much does Kamara help this offense when he comes back?
Oh my God. Me and Lance were talking about that in the press box. Wait till Kamara comes back next week against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or should I say week 4 against the Buccaneers. He's going to open it up a lot more for the tight ends. He's going to open it up for the running backs, the receivers. He's just going to, the offensive line maybe doesn't have to hold as long just because of what he's able to do in space. So, the offense is going to be even more dynamic whenever you have 41 in there. Plus, they need another running back at this point. They need to have their number 1 back in their backfield again.
I like the pass rush last night. How'd you think the Saints played up front defensively?
Look, when Cam was coming to the tunnel, we were waiting to go on the field. He stopped by to tell Lance and I, he's like, "Look, we miss a lot of sacks. They had 4 sacks and they had 7 hits on Bryce Young. He felt like they missed at least another 3 sacks on him. And he's right. I mean, he's a little elusive, so you give him credit for getting out of it and get out of the way of Granderson and Cam and some of the other defensive linemen, Saunders and Shepard. He did a good job of avoiding it, but they made life miserable for Bryce Young last night. He could not get comfortable. He could not make his throws, could not plant his feet. They did exactly what everyone thought they were going to do to Bryce Young. They were going to make him uncomfortable for the entire game. And look, man, that defensive line is scary. The entire defense, Hunt, is scary. That's 10 straight games of allowing 20 or fewer points, which is a franchise record. Hey, look, through the first 2 weeks, 1 touchdown. That's the best in franchise history through 2 weeks. The 92 Dome Patrol team was the other one who did it. And 90, they gave up 2 in the first 2 weeks. So look, this defense is on its continues ascending. So it's a good thing.
No, there's no doubt about it. And the 1 touchdown they've given up has been in garbage time where they were in prevent. So it's pretty impressive. I think they found a really good recipe, in my opinion, in the secondary with those 3 guys. Who's made the biggest jump there? Is it Lattimore staying healthy and returning to his form, or is it Adebo or Alontae Taylor?
No, look. I mean, let's just scratch Marshawn Lattimore out. Lattimore being healthy is top 3, maybe top 2 in the entire NFL. He's allowed 3 catches in 2 games. Yeah. Now, I get it. It's Tannehill and Young, but they're not even really throwing his way. So we know how good he is. I think Alontae Taylor is making the bigger strides. Adebo is still having some issues. He's a little handsy. I know the one on the fumble that the Saints should have had a second turnover. They called an illegal contact while Bryce Young was in the pocket. It's a suspect call, but he was handsy. The other one, if he had his head turned on the pass interference, maybe they don't call it if the ball was 3 yards over his head, out of bounds. But those guys have made strides. Now, if you can clean it up a little bit, man, that secondary becomes even more potent, and no one is going to dare throw that ball in the secondary. Tyrann Mathieu hasn't really done much because no one's throwing it his way either. That's another thing. You haven't heard Tyrann Mathieu's names because he's doing his job really well. So, yeah, that secondary is is doing a little bit more than I thought they'd be doing. But it's just 2 games in, and I'm just excited to see what they do as they move to the rest of the season because they have that young talent there.
How do they fix the red zone on offense?
Yeah, that's a great question. They got to the 4-yard line and couldn't get anything in the end zone. The first drive, they got inside the 10-yard line, I believe, and couldn't get anything in. I think it's just, Derek Carr getting a little more comfortable. Play calling has to be a little bit better. I really think they should have, instead of running Taysom when they got to the 4-yard line on first and goal from the 4, they should have just run in between the tackles. Don't try to be too cute with it. It was working up the middle. Everything was working up the middle. In terms of throwing, man, where's the picket fence with Michael Thomas? The little screen, with the one that they ran all the time with Drew Brees. So down the line, they throw in the ball. You get some nice blocking. He pushes his way forward. He gets in for a touchdown. Didn't see any of that type of stuff. So I just think, you have Jimmy Graham, use him. He had, like I told you, you can't teach size. Put him outside and let him go one-on-one with a corner. Just throw it up. I mean, they didn't do anything that was creative to me. I just think that it was sloppy. It was sloppy and bad, and just the timing wasn't there with Carr and any of the passes he was making to his receivers.
You headed to Green Bay?
No Green Bay trip this year. So next time we'll be with him is when Kamara returns for the Buccaneers game on October 1st. But should be another good one, man. Like, they get another team having their home debut. Packers play back-to-back road games. It all depends if Aaron Jones plays for them. With Jordan Love, yeah, he's 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, almost 400 yards, but completion percentage is 56%. Not that great. So that Saints defense is going to have a chance to eat once again.
All right, Sharif, be safe coming back. Hope you don't get stuck in any more elevators.
I think I'm staying out of elevators for a little while now.
Okay, we'll talk next week.
All right, man.
He's Sharif Ishak with WDSU. Tough day for Sharif. Look, you kind of got a day off. I mean, it's 2:40 out there, so he had the whole morning in Charlotte to kind of enjoy, and he spends 45 minutes of it stuck in an elevator calling the front desk, scrolling through Twitter. That's tough. That's really tough, but I'm glad Sharif persevered through TSA, and got to spend some time with us here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. Snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win $500 Rouse's gift card. Our judges are going to select a winner on September the 29th. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Markets, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking for something to do tonight? How about Plucker Sports Trivia? We'll be out there 8:30, live action trivia. You can win Plucker's gift cards, delicious cold beers, awesome chicken wings, and me agonizing over the Cubs, who have been in a tailspin over the last week. That's what you'll see if you come to Pluckers. It's a lot of fun. Grab a team or just head up there yourself and compete for some Pluckers gift cards. We always have fun. 8:30 Nicholson location. We'll get you out of there before 10 o'clock. All right, when we come back, I'm excited about this. You may have missed some of Lane Kiffin's antics on Twitter yesterday and some of his intended but unexpected jabs at A&M in his press conference. He was on fire yesterday. We'll get to that closed out hour number 1 next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team been remodeling and redesigning bathrooms and closets for 30 years. Maybe it's not you that needs a new bathroom or closet. You're all set, but you've got an aging loved one who may need some help with safety in and around the bathroom. It's a walk-in tub that can make things so much more convenient and safer for an aging loved one that wants to stay in their home. Maybe it's some handrails, guardrails around the shower and tub areas. One Bath and Closets does that kind of stuff all the time. Just give them a call or head over to the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can request that free consultation, see some pictures of their great work, and you can also see the testimonials of their satisfied customers. I can promise you this, onebathandclosets.com is going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. David Vaughn and his team, again, 30 years of experience. Go to onebathandclosets.com and request that free consultation today. Onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Step inside an Infiniti QX50, and you'll find a suite of driver-focused features tailored to your taste.
Charles Hanniger joined us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch with the original walk-ons of Burbank at Nicholson. Randy McKay, Wes Reynolds, and Scott Rabelais will all be with us. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Closing up hour number 1 here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Did y'all know Lane Kiffin was a Swiftie? It appears he is. I live with one, so I know them well. My wife went out and watched a Taylor Swift concert with a good buddy in L.A. earlier this summer. She's obsessed, plays it nonstop. I like Taylor Swift back when she was playing country. Now that she's all pop and she tries to like throw cuss words in there all the time and be some kind of badass, she's not. She's Taylor Swift. But I didn't know Lane Kiffin was a Swiftie. And earlier, he posted a tweet of a video of Taylor Swift singing in concert. Seems like a pretty harmless tweet, right? Just posting a video of Taylor Swift singing. A lot of people do it. She's making like $1 billion on this tour, so no big deal, right? Until you start to peel back the layers of the onion. And then you get to where Lane is in his Twitter bag. The video he tweeted out was of Taylor Swift singing a song called Castles Crumbling. Okay? Probably doesn't sound all that inflammatory, as I tell you. Castles Crumbling, Taylor Swift song, whatever. And then you realize they're playing Alabama this week. And you realize that Lane Kiffin likes to give the needle to Nick Saban from time to time on Twitter. Let me read you the words of Taylor Swift's song, Castles Crumbling. And you tell me if it reminds you of potentially any program in the SEC's Western Division. Taylor writes, Once I had an empire in a golden age. I was held up so high, I used to be great. They used to cheer when they saw my face. Now I fear I have fallen from grace. And I feel like my castle's crumbling down. And I watch all my bridges burn to the ground. And you don't want to know me. I will just let you down. You don't want to know me now. Once I was the great hope for a dynasty. Crowds would hang on my words and they trusted me. Their faith was strong, but I pushed it too far. I held that grudge till it tore me apart. And the song continues. But do you see where Lane's going here? Oh, man, this is going to be fun on Saturday. Lane's just twisting the needle, and I don't know if Nick Saban sees this stuff or he cares, but obviously Lane Kiffin talked on Monday, or I think it was Sunday, meets with the media and said that he watched Alabama's defensive game tape, and he can tell that Kevin Steele's not calling the defense. It's actually one of their other defensive assistants because he's worked with Kevin Steele and knows that's not his defense, and he's just going on and on about that. And then Nick Saban comes to the podium on Monday, and he says, first of all, let me get out in front of two things. One, Jalen Milroe is going to be the starting quarterback. Two, yes, Kevin Steele's calling the defense. So at that point, Saban had heard what Lane Kiffin was saying in his press conference. I don't know if the Taylor Swift concert got to Nick's ear or not, but it's pretty obvious. And Lane loves to do this. He does it every year. He does it every summer. I believe that Lane Kiffin has immense respect for what Nick Saban has done, and I do believe Lane Kiffin when he says that Nick Saban resurrected and saved his career, which is true. I also think that Lane Kiffin wants so badly to beat Nick Saban, he won't sleep all week. And I think he realizes that his team has played pretty well and that Alabama has been a mess for 2 weeks. And he thinks this is his best shot. There's no Bryce Young. There's no Mac Jones. There's no Tua. Yeah, they're going on the road. Texas didn't seem to mind. But this is the last box for Lane to check at Ole Miss in the West. He's beaten everybody else. He's got to beat Nick. And this game holds so much significance for Ole Miss because the West might be a little down. Auburn doesn't look great. Alabama doesn't look great. LSU's got a loss. A&M doesn't look great. Arkansas looks quite poor. We know that Ole Miss plays Vanderbilt. And this is the last year that Ole Miss is competing with 6 other teams for one spot in Atlanta. Starting next year, they're competing with 17 other teams, with 15 other teams for 2 spots in Atlanta. So starting next year, Ole Miss is competing with Florida and Georgia and Oklahoma and Texas, along with LSU and A&M and Alabama and Auburn. This year, it's just the West. If Ole Miss wins this game in Tuscaloosa, they will welcome LSU into Oxford with the SEC West on their racket. That doesn't happen for Ole Miss very often. So if I was Lane Kiffin, I might ease out on the Taylor Swift castle's crumbling tweets and the barbs at the Alabama defensive coordinator. But he's Lane. He's going to do what he wants to do. I do think it's funny, but I don't have to go play Alabama on the road this week. So he can do what he needs to. But that's a well thought out tweet by Lane to send that out. You had to dig, but once you dig, it's not that tough. Had an empire in a golden age. I was held up so high. I used to be great. They used to cheer when they saw my face. Now I feel I've fallen from grace. We'll see how far they've fallen from grace on Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Because I think that place is going to be pretty fired up to see Lane Kiffin. And I have a feeling like Nick Saban probably got word to his guys that this was going on. Just a hunch. Going to be a big one. We'll certainly break it down coming up on Friday's show. That's it for hour number 1 here. A couple of guests. We appreciate both of them for making themselves available at some awkward times. Glenn West of Go247 is with us talking Tigers at 1:15. Sharif Ishak at 1:30. For all LSU conversation, hunt on LSU on YouTube. For all your Saints conversation, hunt on Saints on YouTube. Subscribe to those channels. We would really, really appreciate it. We got a loaded hour number 2 coming at you as well. I've got some thoughts on college football kind of nationally as we look at some of the powers and what they look like through 3 weeks. Got some Brian Kelly sound we'll get to after Sports Center. So come back with us on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor, so you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast? All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Step inside an Infiniti QX50, and you'll find a suite of driver-focused features tailored to your tastes. But most of all, you'll find luxury that lets you feel infinitely you. Visit your local Infiniti retailer today.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This
is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Colorado football coach Deion Sanders today condemned the death threats against Colorado State defensive back Henry Blackburn for his illegal hit that sent Buffalo's two-way star Travis Hunter to the hospital. Sanders said that Blackburn was just playing the game of football, should not be receiving death threats. He's a kid. Hunter's out at least for Saturday's game against 10th-ranked Oregon with a lacerated liver. In the wake of the season-ending injury to All-Pro running back Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford is now the Browns' featured running back. Without Chubb, Cleveland's $230 million quarterback, Deshaun Watson, needs to step up, advises ESPN's Herm Edwards.
He's your guy. You're going to have to open it up some, spread him out, let him run some RPOs, let him, create some with his legs, get the ball, obviously, to People Jones, throw the ball with him a little bit more than you would run it. You still have Ford, but I think it has to go through the quarterback now. That's why you brought him there.
Giants running back Saquon Barkley with a sprained ankle will be a game-time decision at San Francisco Thursday night, according to coach Brian Daboll.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, Rob Saleh continues to back Zach Wilson, but I'll tell you why he better move on or else they'll both be gone. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. On this Tuesday, hope your work week is off to a great start. LSU in Arkansas, it's Saturday night in Death Valley, 6 o'clock kickoff. We're starting to look forward to that one as we move forward in this week. Kind of put LSU Mississippi State in the rearview mirror. That's what Brian Kelly did on Monday when he met with the assembled media. We don't generally have enough time to get that sound to you on our show on Mondays because it's just too fresh to get to, but generally speaking, we'll talk about a little bit of it here on a Tuesday, so we will want to remind you I got some thoughts on college football as a whole coming up here in 15 minutes. But we want to start with Brian Kelly's sound, and this is kind of right up my alley because I talk to you all the time about my feelings on each individual sport and how they're consumed and what kind of emotional roller coaster and the consequence that comes with each game. And college football is tough, man, because there's no sport that more heavily weighs its regular season games than college football, and there are a massive amount of you that love that about college football so much and are sick about the fact that the national championship got moved from 2 to 4 and is moving from 4 to 12, and you don't want that at all. And I understand why you feel that way. It's not how I feel, but I understand how you feel that way. And because every regular season game is weighed so heavily, it's people like me that are hesitant to schedule big-time out-of-conference games. I already know I got to go to Tuscaloosa. I already know I got to go to Oxford. I already know that A&M's coming to me, and then I've got Florida and Auburn on the schedule. I already know if I win my side of the division that Georgia or Tennessee is waiting in Atlanta. I got enough big games that I've got to prove myself in. I'm not wild about adding the new ones. And yeah, they're fun to talk about, and it's fun leading up to it, but guess what? 4 years in a row, LSU's gotten punched in the gut right out of the chute, and in this sport, it is tough to recover from that. You leave yourself no margin for error. There are some 0-2 NFL teams that are a little bit paranoid right now, but you got a lot of time to figure it out. In college football, you lose your second game, and you're a championship aspirational program. You've got real problems. And we know that LSU's halfway there at this point. And so here we sit in a week-to-week sport, and we're right in the cauldron of it on this channel with you, the listener, and you, our social media consumer, and those that engage with us week to week. And it's those of you who talk LSU football and LSU sports in your day-to-day lives. And you're like, man, after Florida State, I don't know. This Jaden Daniels, like we gotta look at the backup quarterback. I don't know if Brian Kelly can get his teams ready. This coaching staff's failed. And then all of a sudden you go out there and you dust Mississippi State, and it's, oh man, we might be the best team in the SEC. this team should be in Tuscaloosa at 7-1. We're probably better than Georgia. Look at that. And it's like, it's a week-to-week like roller coaster that I personally don't jump on. I'm closer to the even keel. We talked about that yesterday. I'm not going to go absolutely nuts when you lose to Florida State. I'm not going to proclaim everything fixed and all positive after a Mississippi State win. Like, let's just see how things go on Saturday. It's not the most fun way to go about it, but it's kind of the way that I'm wired. But Brian Kelly was asked yesterday, like, slow start. You've been coaching a long time. Are you drawing on some of those other slow starts, including last year, as you coach this team?
Unless your team is ready-made, and I made it pretty clear with 14 transfers and the amount of freshmen that we were going to have to play, that's a red flag. I mean, if you're really looking at it carefully, that's going to require some tweaking. That's going to require for you to really understand that there's going to have to be some movement in terms of changing direction, with your team along the way. We were able to do that, I think, and I think we're finding the formula for this team. But I think that, most teams that I've had, there haven't been as many that are just add water and just go. They all require a little bit of, changing the formula as the season goes along to get the right mix.
The problem with that is that you're starting every season with a big game. So that not add water and let's go means you may put yourself way behind the 8 ball. Now, with the expanded playoff, that takes a little bit of backseat moving forward. Now, I understand it. But certainly this year, when you bring in transfers like everyone else is doing, and you've got young players like everyone else does, and you feel like you're not where you need to be in order to win a big game Labor Day weekend, you've really done yourself a disservice. So it's a bummer, but I also look at it and go, well, offensively, pretty much had everybody back. The running back, who's probably going to be your starter moving forward, didn't play. I know he was new, but he went out there. Everybody you had out there on their offense was back. Defense had some new faces in the secondary, sure. But in college football, you kind of got to be ready to go. You're not ready to go on opening day of Major League Baseball? Well, you got 161 more. You're struggling first 2 weeks of the NFL? Well, you can lose 7 or 8 games and make the playoffs. You're not ready to go on opening night of the NBA? Who cares? Nobody even knew you were playing. College football? Like, hey, you got to be ready to go. And that's why LSU's a little bit behind the 8 ball. I'm not suggesting that they were poorly prepared, but I'm just talking about the nature of that quote juxtaposed with the nature of the sport, which is losing a game's a big deal. So I love the fact that I think LSU is going to continue to build and improve. I love the fact that they can draw on last year's disappointing start and understand that you can still play for a lot and have an opportunity late in the season to play for all your goals. But, man, it still doesn't make the situation any better. Your margin for error is very limited. So Brian Kelly talked yesterday about, okay, well, you played great in your first SEC game. Can you keep that going?
We need all hands on deck. We've got to be able to play with the same kind of competitive edge, the same kind of preparation. This is the grind of it now, right? This is where you get into your process and making sure that everybody has an understanding of doing the little things the right way every single day. We're off and running now. This is the good stuff for coaches. Players, maybe not so much. They want to get to Saturday, but we got to keep them focused on every single day.
You mentioned competitive edge, and I'm going to get to a quote that he had about that, but this is one of the places where I am so not afraid to say that I'm probably wrong. Because I have long said that personal fouls are a massive problem, that getting what I would call stupid penalties is unacceptable, that getting in fights in practice is dumb, and hitting people late and throwing punches is just so ridiculous. I hate all that because I'm as mild-mannered as they come. I shy away and diffuse confrontation whenever possible in my entire life. I've never been in a fight. I didn't play football past 8th grade. my perspective on this is different than most people, and certainly different than almost everybody out there on the practice field for LSU and when they take the field in the game. But I just don't understand the throwing punches after the whistle and getting late hits and all those kind of personal fouls and whatnot. And then Florida State gets 3 of them in the first half, and LSU gets their butts kicked in the second half. And I've got a lot of media members saying, hey, Florida State was tougher and more physical, ready to play than you. They had an edge. You didn't. And I'm going, they look like idiots. They're costing themselves 45 yards in penalties that I will gladly take on my way to try to score points. That's the way I see it. But most people look at it and say, you need to be the aggressor. You need to be the team with the chip on the shoulder. You need to be the intimidating presence. My guy, Brandon Taylor, who I do pre- and post-game with every week, would only have it that way. And I just don't see it that way because it's so far removed from my nature. But Brian Kelly talked about the fact that LSU got some extracurricular penalties on Saturday, and he sees some of that as a necessity, but you want guys that can straighten it out.
You know, we're looking for gentlemen off the field, but not gentlemen on the field. And, you know, I would say that, going back to what's the right mix, I want tough guys on the field that play the game the right way. I don't want to be, a team that's penalized and we hurt our team. But we want guys that have a toughness to them. And then off the field, we want gentlemen. We might have played like gentlemen both on the field and off the field. And that's not who we are. And I think we're trying to find that identity. I think we're getting close to it.
It's just hard for me to ingest that and feel confident that that's the way to be. I think that the way LSU played the first half against Florida State is far better than the way Florida State played it. But I'm in the vast minority there and realize that I'm probably, because I don't have that experience and don't live in that world and am basically the exact opposite of that I've got to reprogram my brain and realize, well, you need guys that are flirting with the rules out there. You need guys that are tough and physical and intimidating and have a presence to them. And sometimes that's going to bleed over the whistle, and it's going to cost you 15 yards. I hate it. It drives me absolutely insane to get a stupid 15-yard penalty because, to me, nothing's easier than the whistle blows and you just don't throw a punch or don't push somebody or don't go jawing back at something. Like, that seems really easy to me, Mr. Non-Confrontational. But my job's not to knock a 330-pound guy into next week and tackle the 220-pound running back. That's not in my nature either. So I get it. It's just he is looking at the Florida State game going, man, they played with a little more edge. And it's hard for me to see it that way, but I'm understanding that maybe my perspective's not exactly right, which wouldn't be the first time. Won't be the last time either. 104.5 ESPN, along with Acura of Baton Rouge, are teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. To donate to this important cause, visit our website, 1045ESPN.com. Everyone who makes a donation will be entered to win exclusive prizes. Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. Moving right along here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Fired up to get to a little bit more Brian Kelly sound about some of his young players as we move forward here. When we come back, I've got kind of a big picture thought on college football and where things are headed. We touched on it briefly with Denton Day yesterday, and I kind of want to expand upon it. So let me get to some national talk when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and, of course, much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off this NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued, non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or somebody knows gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street. The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644.
This Sunday as we bring you 3 NFL games, starting with our noon kickoff, the New England Patriots against the New York Jets. Immediately following that game, it's the Chicago Bears against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then our nightcap, the Steelers and the Raiders. Tune in here on 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A little more from Brian Kelly here in 15 minutes, but I wanted to spend some time unpacking something that Denton Day from SiriusXM, who's with us every Monday, and I started talking about a little bit yesterday. And it admittedly has my mind a little bit in a pretzel. Like, the best sports talk radio generally is having an opinion, supporting it with information, and being affirmative and like demonstrative about that opinion. Like, that's the way it should work. And I do that sometimes. But then there are other times where, like, I don't feel convicted about an issue. And I just want to kind of talk through it and maybe see where my mind takes me. We know that college football has haves and have-nots. That has been abundantly clear for decades. There's a reason that every single SEC championship game that has been played since 1992, it's never included Vanderbilt, it's never included Ole Miss, it's never included Kentucky. It's just the way it goes. Mississippi State limped in once, Arkansas figured out a way twice, South Carolina got there once, Missouri got there a couple times. But basically, it's LSU, Alabama, and Auburn against Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia. That's it. And you look back at national champions and you start to go back over the last 25 years, and you get Bama and you get LSU, you get Auburn and Florida and Georgia. You got Tennessee if you go back 25 years. Got Ohio State and USC. Got Miami. And the list basically stops. You don't ever have Kansas State. You don't ever have Cal. Boston College never shows up. There are haves and have-nots. We know this. And while we may get bored of watching Alabama and Clemson do this 4 times in a row, and we may get tired of Alabama and Ohio State, they are the best teams. They're the best programs. It's the best product we can put out there. And we're moving towards an era where those are the only games that are played. And you certainly box out the FCS teams, and you probably box out the group of 5 teams eventually. But we're not quite there yet. We have a 4-team playoff, and that's what we're going to play into this year. And I've always said, like, I want to see great teams play. I'm not about being fair to everybody. That's not what it's about. Because my rooting interest has always been the team right down the street that is among the elites and has been really throughout my formative years. When Curley was coaching, I was like 6, so I didn't care that much. And so when I say that I would like to see a little bit different flavor in the playoff this year, I immediately jump back and say, wait a second, Hunt. You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. You can't tell me that you only really care about the elites of college football and doing what's best for them, and then tell me that you want some variety in the college football playoff. Look what happened last year. You let TCU in, and they were totally non-competitive, and I don't want to see that. But the reason I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit as we sit here in the middle of September of this year is because I believe that the elites of college football, when at their best, laugh at the middle class. It's not a fair fight. We saw it in the title game last year. However, I don't know that the elites of college football are at their best. Not in the middle of September. Alabama has put out teams for 15 years that just put these mediocre teams in a meat grinder. They embarrass them. I don't think they're that right now. Texas and South Florida would vouch for that. Right now, do I think Georgia's as good as they were last year? No, I was impressed by their second half on Saturday. No one seems to say that. They just look at the halftime score and say, oh, well, they're not that good. Second half was pretty good. I don't know what Ohio State is right now. Do I think this is C.J. Stroud or Dwayne Haskins? No, I don't. That's really the elite level. Clemson's been in that category for 10 years. Do they look awesome? No. And that's what leads me to look at this and go, you know, if Washington really is good, like, I wouldn't mind watching them play Michigan. I think Michael Penix might be able to do some things against Georgia. Like, if I'm taking LSU out of the equation, and I got people talking about Colorado in the Mighty Four chat, I'm not going there. But I feel like this year more than others, I'm looking at Texas, who has not been in the playoff. Washington, who looks pretty strong at this point. Even Florida State, who hadn't been in the playoffs since the first year. And I'm kind of looking around going, maybe there is an opportunity for Penn State to jump in this thing and be interesting and really play to the end and potentially win it. Like, of course, I want LSU to win the thing. But if they're not going to win it, I'd rather watch Washington or Penn State or somebody like that win this thing as opposed to Bama and Georgia. And in this year, through 3 weeks, I feel like that's a possibility. When I would watch Alabama come out there in those season openers, they did it to Florida State, they did it to USC, they did it to Michigan, They were beating teams 52-7 in the opener. At that point, I could only look at about 3 teams in the country and say, hey, you're going to need to beat Bama. This year, I don't look at the elites of college football and say, man, you put one of these that I would not necessarily put in the haves category up there. Like, maybe they've got a chance. And that can change over the next 10 weeks. I know that. And that's the point of me having a preface to this statement saying I'm not totally convicted in this. I'm just interested. I'm just intrigued. I think it's worth a thought at this point in the calendar that maybe the elite of the elite is not at their best this year. They don't have their best fastball. Somebody might be able to get in there and take a swing. Maybe I'm proven dead wrong, because certainly TCU did not deserve to be in the box last year. But Georgia was at their best. We'll see. I just think it's interesting. Maybe Notre Dame's the best team in the country. We saw what happened when Notre Dame was really good under Brian Kelly, and I use air quotes there, the best version of that program. They went and played Alabama, and they got embarrassed. Maybe not this time. What about Michael Penix? Is USC ready to jump back in the party? Is Drew Allar the answer at Penn State? I don't know. I dismiss it so quickly, and that's been my default, that I'm allowing myself to just open that thought process for a second and think maybe this could be a really interesting year down the stretch. And maybe the TCU situation shows up. But I just think it's something to think about. I'd rather think about LSU running the table and winning the whole thing, and that'd be great. And I don't care who they play. But in the event that I have to think elsewhere, we'll see. It's early. Washington beat a team with no coach last week, so I'm not ready to proclaim them champions of the world. But we'll see. All right, remind you about our winner in the pick'em from last week. Congratulations to Maurice Salami. Maurice is our Week 3 winner in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest. Wins a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 4 by noon on Thursday. Play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. We come back. We'll hear some more from Brian Kelly on playing some younger players on defense. That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Always pumped up to tell you about the duo of Ochsner Health and MD Anderson. They're partnering together to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. The collaboration between the two is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in all the nation. Ochsner's the first and only provider in Louisiana that's got fully integrated cancer program that's based on MD Anderson's practice standards, treatments plans. It's got their specialists and researchers. Plus, Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center is going to offer groundbreaking research and innovative therapies that include offering access to select clinical trials to eligible patients. We've all been affected by cancer one way or another, and Ochsner and MD Anderson are partnering together to continue that fight. They've got expert care being offered in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany Parish, as well as Baton Rouge. And Ochsner and MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites in the future. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, I invite you to go to Ochsner.org. That is Ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We're recapping Saints-Panthers on Monday Night Football. Sean Salisbury joins us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Mic check. There we go. Just a little technical difficulty there. It happens. Live radio. Knocked the cough button off and it disconnected from the microphone. But now it's on and it's working, so we're good. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week is off to a good start. I want to hear a little bit more sound from Brian Kelly. As I alluded to at the top of the hour, like this team on offense basically had everybody coming back. I mean, there was very little that you were going to have to do up front. Anthony Bradford moved on. Keyshawn Boutte moved on. But basically, you had your group on the offense. The defense was where the biggest question marks were going to arise. And you had a bunch of transfers coming in, some guys that were going to have to step forward, specifically on the back end. But also, you've got some young players that you're going to have to count on. And Brian Kelly spoke to his confidence level into putting some young guys out there on the road in the Southeastern Conference on Saturday.
You know, Whit Weeks, we knew what we had. We had a young player, certainly a true freshman, but He can run all over the field. He's extremely athletic. I think you get a little concerned when you play a lot of true freshmen, certainly in the back end of your defense. Ryan Yates came in and played really well. He was clean. He was disciplined in his alignments. He was assignment correct. But, you got 3 true freshmen on the field. On the road in the SEC, I don't think you're running around going, oh, this is great. But we had confidence in them that they could go out and play well.
And I thought they did. Like, Pro Football Focus give Weeks like not a great grade. I don't know. He made some plays. I don't expect him to be perfect out there, but he showed some athleticism. He showed some toughness. And quite frankly, I was a little surprised to see him get the start. I thought it was going to be West Weeks that would go. Instead, it's his younger brother, 2 years younger, that was out there and making some plays early in the game, which was exciting. We'll hear a little bit more about him coming up. But I think what it did was not necessarily indicate like who's got to be a starter and who's got to be in there, even though it may have. What it did was it indicated a little bit of depth.
I think what it shows more than anything else, and Coach and I were talking about this, Coach House, is that we have more than 11. And we need to play them more. It's kind of like what we talked about the week before with Guillory and certainly Jefferson at the tackle position. They didn't play enough the week before, where they played much more, and you can see how that helps our rotation at the defensive line. I think you'll see now that we can play a lot more at the linebacker position and the safety position.
You got to have a lot of guys up front on defense. That's just got to happen. And that is something that LSU has lacked over the last few years that they've really got now. I won't suggest to you that LSU is too deep with all league players, but there's not a massive drop-off when Mason Smith and Wingo come out and you see Jefferson come in with Guillory, like that happened in the first quarter against Mississippi State. I looked up. They came back from commercial. They're showing the line of scrimmage, and LSU's got a reserve defensive front in there. And I didn't look at that and go, oh, God, here we go. I looked at that and said, okay, those are old players that have played some football, that have gotten reps, that are big enough physically to handle this, and they can do it. And that trickles back to the linebacker spot with Omar Speights coming back eventually. And it trickles back to the secondary where you're going to have some guys move along. We think Greg Brooks is going to be out for a little bit. Obviously, hope everything is going well with him and wish him the best, but it feels like he's certainly going to be out this weekend and maybe out for an extended period of time. You're going to have to play some other guys on defense. And we mentioned Weeks to start. I was a little bit surprised to see him get the first nod, but Brian Kelly spoke to yesterday what went into that decision.
First of all, he has elite speed at the position. He can cover the field. He can run mistakes down. And when you can run mistakes down, that gives you a real advantage in terms of playing the position. The second thing is he sees an open gap, he's going to take it. You saw that early in the game. He shot the gap, TFL. He's got, obviously there's a learning curve there. There are some things that he did that, we're going to have to continue to work with. But when you have a guy that's that athletic, has a really good sense in pass coverage, he's not lost out there in pass coverage. And I would say that probably is the reason why he's out there, because he's not lost in anything. Can he get better in areas? Absolutely. And then he makes up for a lot of that with high-end athletic ability.
I don't know that Whit Weeks was someone that the fan base ballyhooed on signing days, like, oh, what a great score this is with this linebacker that we pulled in. I mean, he's a 4-star and he's a good player, but I don't know if he was the guy that the fan base was all enamored with. Lance Hurd certainly would come in there. Deshaun Womack was a 5-star. People thrilled about him. Javian Toviano was a big get from the state of Texas. You look at the receiver room with Jalen Brown and Shelton Sampson and Kyle Parker, and everybody was excited about them. And you got some guys, Kamorian Pimpton flips on signing day, and Kylan Jackson's a big safety from right here in the area, so you know him. And I think Whit Weeks probably got lost in the shuffle there. But we're talking about a top 150 player nationally. We're talking about a guy from the state of Georgia that Georgia wanted. They pretty much take who they want, and they wanted him. And LSU got him. This was a big-time get, and he was a little bit undersized when LSU signed him. His recruiting profile says 6'2", 190. I think he's probably well north of that at this point, and he is really fast, and he's going to be a heck of a player at LSU. I don't know how he factors in the rest of the way. Maybe he's a starter the rest of the way. Maybe Omar Speights comes in and takes that spot, and Greg Penn plays, and Perkins does his thing, and you just shuffle Weeks in there a little bit, as Brian Kelly would say. They've got more than 11. They can play him. But it's he's going to be a really good player, and he was a really good signee. I just don't know that LSU fans thought a ton of him because there were some bigger names potentially in the signing class. Last thing is just playing young freshmen. You played Caleb Jackson. You played Whit Weeks. You've sent some freshman receivers out there against Grambling. Kamorian Pimpton and Mac Markway are out there in Mason Taylor's absence. Like, does that help you on the recruiting trail?
We're recruiting young men that believe and have confidence in themselves that they can play right away. And certainly there are other factors that they consider now in making decisions on where to go, looking at the depth chart and looking at, well, can this help my, NIL? I mean, there are other factors now involved in that. So what we can tell them, and this is what I tell them all the time, I'm not afraid to play freshmen, but I'm going to play the best players. And if that is a freshman, I'm playing a freshman. If that's a graduate transfer, I'll play a graduate transfer. And I think our track record shows that the best players are going to play. And if you're a freshman and you can handle it mentally and physically, we'll put you on the field.
In my head, Caleb Jackson and Whit Weeks are the two guys that will make their way to the front. I love Deshaun Womack. I don't think he's about to start over the much older players on this team. I love Lance Hurd, and I think we're moving towards him playing, but it's gradual. I think Whit Weeks and Caleb Jackson are going to be noticeable dudes in the short term. He mentioned Ryan Yates, and they liked what he did. With the injury, maybe Christian Braithwaite gets an opportunity, but to me, it's Weeks and it's Jackson who will make their way to impact players on this team, with Lance Hurd probably being right there next. But I think they're easing it in there. There's a little more safety blanket at linebacker than there is at right tackle. Right tackle makes a mistake, whether it's a holding penalty to get you behind the change or whiffs and leaves your quarterback out to dry. That's a huge deal. Linebacker misses a tackle, maybe the safety's right there to clean it up, right? I mean, I'm not suggesting the linebacker blown assignment's a great thing. Sure, you can miss a wheel route and give up an 80-yard touchdown in a hurry. I get it. But, like, right tackle, you make a big mistake, like, it's real bad. And at running back, we just think that natural talent has a way of bringing itself to the forefront. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk a little bit about true freshman running backs and kind of how things generally go towards in the course of a season, and we'll put Caleb Jackson in that scenario. But those three are the guys, and Brian Kelly said we're going to play the best guys. Freshmen have never gotten to college football more ready to play. Between early enrollees, high school strength and conditioning programs, high school coaching, 7-on-7s year-round, they've never been more ready to play when they get here. The flip side of that is teams are able to fill gaps with transfer portal guys more quickly than they could have. So you've got a lot of older players. But freshmen are ready to go a lot of times. And those guys appear to be moving forward. We'll see how much we see of them Saturday night in Tiger Stadium against Arkansas. That's it for Brian Kelly Sound today. We will take one more timeout. When we come back, we'll take it or leave it. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Storm season still, and there may be a disturbance out there in the Atlantic, so we shall see. Give Boudreaux's Electric a call. Don't let the power go out in your home. Boudreaux's Electric is a family-owned and operated Generac generator dealer here in South Louisiana. Not only that, they're a premier Generac dealer. It means they're in the top 3% nationwide. If you stay home for a storm, you're going to want that generator, so if the power goes out, your home is powered to the extent that you'd like it to be powered. Even if you leave and evacuate for a hurricane, wouldn't you like your home to stay cool when you arrive back? And wouldn't you like that refrigerator and freezer to be rolling so you don't get back to a disgusting, smelly fridge like a lot of us have many, many times with hurricanes? Boudreaux's Electric can help you out. Give them a call. Same number they've been for 40 years. 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. Boudreaux's Electric. Every generator, a free 10-year warranty. Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the...
On Wednesday's OTB. Continue to look forward to the weekend of football that will be all the big games, plus an hour of flestering with Matt Flynn. Off the bench, 7:10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up shop here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Want to remind you, every Tuesday we are out at Pluckers on Nicholson, 8:30 Sports Trivia. You can win Pluckers gift cards, 15 plays for first place each round, second place for second place for $5 Pluckers dollars each round. You have a nice night. You can come out of there with $45 or so in Pluckers gift cards, which will pay for your cold drinks and some wings for sure. And we have a lot of fun. Grab a team, come on out to the Pluckers on Nicholson, 8:30. I'll be watching the Cubs and reading trivia questions. We'll be out of there by 10 o'clock. Always have a good time on Tuesday, so come on out to Pluckers. Last order of business on this Tuesday. Take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. The Tampa Bay Rays are getting a new stadium.
Yeah.
The Trop is the worst stadium in pro sports. Take it or leave it.
I haven't been to all of them, but I'm going to take it. I
take it.
haven't been to Oakland Coliseum, and I'm told it's not good. But I've been to the Trop. I was at the Trop for a day that many of y'all know very, very well, the 5 for 5 day, for that Under Armour All-American game with Leonard Fournette, Jamal Adams, Speedy Noyle, Gerald Willis, Tony Brown. That day, because LSU played Iowa in the Capital One Bowl, we went over to the Trop for the Under Armour game the next day. That place, I cannot believe that place houses a Major League Baseball team. It is pathetic. And the thing that separates it in my eyes from the Oakland Coliseum, even though I've never been to the Oakland Coliseum, is that the facility is literally in the way of the sport. Like, you can hit a ball that hits the catwalk and screws stuff up. Like, that's bad. So It's about time they get a new stadium. I don't know what the finances of it are. I don't know how much the taxpayers are doing, how much the ownership's doing. I don't really care because I don't live there and I don't pull for them or watch them. But that stadium's a dump, and they need to get a new one, and I'm glad they are.
Next one here, Cardinals pitcher Adam Wainwright got his 200th win last night. A 7-inning shutout performance. It was against the Brewers, though.
I don't care about the Brewers anymore. We're past the Brewers. They've blown us out.
No, it's not over yet.
It's over.
All right, Wainwright is a Hall of Famer. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I mean, 200 wins? I mean, they're letting a lot of people in the Hall of Fame these days. I mean, the fact that the Yankees retired Paul O'Neill's number, like that's what are we doing here? But Waino was a good pitcher. He was never the best pitcher in the league, never even close to the best pitcher in the league. He was a good pitcher for a good team for a really, really long time, probably 2 or 3 years longer than he should have been. Cool curveball. Good stuff, but to me, not a Hall of Famer. And that's not even like spicy against the Cardinals, because I think Yadier Molina is a Hall of Famer, and all the metrics say that he's not. So I despise Yadier Molina very, very much. He's one of the most hated athletes in my entire life of pulling for sports, but I think he deserves to go into the Hall of Fame. Waino, I don't think so. You think we can catch the Brewers?
It's not over yet. They still have 3 games against them. So if you
last 3, yeah.
Yeah, so if you can get back within 3 before that, then you can win it because you win the tiebreaker.
You have to sweep them?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what is it, like 5 games right now? I've lost count.
I think it's 6.
Oh, come on. That's toast.
All right, moving on. The Falcons, Bucks, and Saints are all 2-0 to start the season. The NFC South is actually good. Take it or leave it.
I will leave that quickly. The NFC South is, in fact, not good. If you think you're going to hitch your wagon to Desmond Ridder and Baker Mayfield, then God bless you. That is not going to happen. 2-0 is fine and dandy, but they're not good. I think the Falcons' coach is good, and their roster's pretty good. The Bucks are the beneficiary of playing a couple of pretty poor teams. The Bears are abysmal, and I think they beat the first week. Bucks beat the...
Was that the Vikings?
That is correct,
yeah.
Yes. Which that's ridiculous, too. The Vikings caught every break last year. Clearly did not catch it in week 1, but the Bears are a disaster. No, the NFC South is not good. The Saints need to pick it up on offense. We talked about that at the top of the show. Their defense is very good and will continue to feast on bad quarterbacks. I still love the Saints to win this division. I don't think it's good. I think the Falcons are a year or 2 away. I think the Bucks are going to get worse over time. So, yeah, give me the Saints and not the rest of the division.
All right, last one here. The NFL is playing 2 games per year at Tottenham Stadium through 2029. I will first ask you, Hunt, do you know what Tottenham Stadium is?
Tottenham Hotspur soccer squad. That's Gordy's team. He's the boss. I gotta know the boss's team.
There you
Can't
go.
name anyone who's ever played for him or their team color. Or I think it's in London.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm on fire.
Take it or leave it. 2 games at Tottenham Stadium.
Leave it. I get it, and I get the NFL guy who's so fired up because there's a 9:00 kickoff, and that's great too. But I don't like these leagues cash grabbing overseas and inconveniencing the athletes massively. Everyone that I worked with that has played in that game, Hester, Jeremy Hill, they all hate it. You fly all the way over there. It's a time difference deal. Nobody knows what's going on in the stadium. Weird environment. Then you got to play, and you got to fly all the way back. Heaven knows if you're the Chargers and you're way the heck over there, it's a just ridiculous flight time. And then half the time there's not a bye around it, so you just got to show up and play again. It's just massively inconveniencing the players to make more money. And that's what all these leagues in college are doing. That's what all the leagues in the professional sports are doing. And it just annoys me. I don't need to play NBA games in Mexico City or NFL games in Mexico City. I don't need to go to Europe where they don't care about the NFL and put on a show 3 times a year. I don't need the Frankfurt or Munich game. Like, call me the old man screaming at the cloud. I just don't need it. And so I'm against it. I understand it's going to happen. They're going to do it because there's more money involved. And I won't really pitch a fit about it until they put a team in London. That's when you will have crossed the line significantly, because nobody wants to do that and continue to do this transatlantic flight all the time and have a fan base that doesn't exist because you're in a country that doesn't care. It just is what it is. Money's going to rule the roost, and that kind of is annoying. But I will leave the Tottenham Stadium game. Sorry, Gordy, I apologize for that, but it's just kind of the way that I feel about it. All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Missed any of our show? You can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. You can catch it on Apple Podcasts. You can catch it on Google, Spotify, anywhere you catch your audio, you can find us. You can always catch us on YouTube as well. Talked Saints win at 1 o'clock. I feel very good about the Saints defense. I am a little concerned about that offense, even though things are 2-0. That's the most important thing, but the offense needs to get it in gear. Glenn West of Go 247 was with us talking Tigers at 1:15. Sharif Ishak from the Charlotte airport. He was there with the Saints last night. Had some interesting nuggets on the Saints last night. The defense has been historically good over the first 2 days, so catch that from 1:30. And then a little Taylor Swift, Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban drama. You don't want to miss that at the end of hour number 1. Brian Kelly sound a couple times in hour 2, as well as my thoughts on the college football national landscape and whether or not some teams that haven't been in the mix could maybe win a national championship this year. We'll see. Something to think about. Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints, both of those on YouTube. We appreciate any subscriptions you can throw us there. It helps us out and helps you out. Gets our Saints and LSU football content right to your homepage. Hope to see you out at Pluckers tonight. Either way, Matt's about to drive you home on After Further View. We're back same time tomorrow. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.